Do you think Matt sheds a tear for every spilt cup of coffee out there?
That's a good question. Actually, we're not going to mention this to him, so...
Matt catches wind of this, it'll be all over.
Oh, Thanksgiving's going to be super awkward this year. It's like a crime scene over here. Jeez.
Rich just spilt a precious 10-ounce cup of coffee here all over himself and the floor.
There's about an ounce left. We'll see if that will...
Did you want to brew another cup real quick?
Absolutely not. Let's do it.
Welcome to this episode of the Cool Dad Shirt Podcast.
So coming up this week, it turns out my neighborhood is full of talent, and because our budget isn't quite such that we get actual celebrities, we're going to choose one of my neighbors again. So I found out a comedian up the street from me, Jay Laquille, is a guy. He spent some time in Brooklyn, down in New York City, doing a bunch of comedian stuff, originally from Canada, and now up the street. He's a funny guy. He writes for Cracked Magazine. The Hard Times, one of my favorite spoof outfits, and he does some performance stuff also. So we were delighted to find out he did all of these things, and he was willing to come down here and hang out with us for a bit.
Thank you.
I convinced Jay to walk 120 yards down to my house and tell us a little bit about, he's a relatively new parent, right? You have a child, you have two kids,
I
right?
do. I have a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old. So I'm fresh to dadhood, fatherhood. And yeah, I didn't mind the stroll down here. It was nice. And I think you guys already get everyone started on the right note by calling it Cool Dad. So I think you're going to get a lot of guests that way it's kind of flattering just hearing that. So that's why I made the 100-foot stroll, you know.
You're originally from Canada, so you're not unaccustomed to traveling to cool places.
Yeah, so I got my green card last year, so don't worry, guys. I can accept the tens of thousands of dollars I'm getting for this appearance.
So Jay, I've crossed paths with a few times at the family, at the block party down the street. I see him once in a while, wave a quick hello. I had no idea how accomplished he was in the comedic background. I knew you came up from Brooklyn, I believe, and you've done some work with Cracked Magazine, The Hard Times. I recently just watched a video on Vimeo with some of your material. That's good stuff, Jay. How did you get into this?
Wow. Yeah, next year will be 20 years, honestly. 04, I was 19 years old, and a guidance counselor told me about comedy. Now, I knew about comedy, but never thought of it at all as like a career or a path of any kind. I think I just like took a year off after school and had no idea what to do. And my guidance counselor told me about this program in Toronto called Humber College. That was like half performance, half writing. And it was taught by like some SCTV alumni and some Saturday Night Live alumni. So it immediately just clicked, and I went there, and I just never looked back. I've been doing it almost 20 years.
I really want to make a joke about a guidance counselor recommending a career in comedy. Yeah. But that's quite a thing you went into. That's great.
My parents were not thrilled. Maybe had a meeting with her after about like, why the hell would you suggest this to my, I think, 18-year-old son at the time? But I'm glad she did. And we had some good convos later. I think only a few years ago I ran into her in my hometown, and I was like, hey, I'm still up to it, still at it, so thanks.
Did you come from a high school that had a good arts program?
Not like necessarily. No, it wasn't. My comedy partner, Eitan, is from Toronto, and he went to a specific like theater school, and I didn't even know that really existed. It was just a standard. It was Notre Dame high school, a very Catholic school, but it did have, you know, a drama program. And looking back on it, I like when she suggested it, I started realizing like, oh, you know, English comes pretty easily to me. I was middle of the road in like math and science and all that, but you know, without much effort, I was just nailing like English, creative writing, and my drama courses, and it was just fun. So I think maybe that's where my guidance counselor got that from.
Hats off to the guidance counselor, right?
Miss Dewar. Shout out Miss Lisa Dewar. I think that's still her last name.
She's probably,
she may have been married.
She's probably listening.
I'll check the followers. I think I saw her name on there.
So you do a lot of work with the Hard Times. It's kind of like The Onion, but it's got a little bit more of a pop culture music kind of
like punk and hardcore
twist to it, right?
Yeah, punk and hardcore metal scenes. It kind of blends, but it started as just punk, and I think it's kind of become mostly just about band and music culture. But yeah, with that satirical, The Onion style for sure.
Is your comedy full time? Are you working? Are you trying to do comedy full time?
I'm doing comedy full time. over the last couple years, I did like 4 or 5 big shows with some really great comedians that came up from the city. And yeah, when I had my daughter, the second kid, and realized how expensive double daycare is, I was like, well, I don't want to just get by. Maybe I'll take like a bartending gig every couple weeks or once a month or something like that. Just help the cause, you know. But my 9 to 5 has been the writing, like cracked in hard times, and then I audition. I have like a little home setup for acting. I booked like a insurance commercial and a CVS commercial pretty recently.
So how often, not being a dad, how often does like kid stuff end up in an act? Do you ever write some of that stuff in from your experience?
I'm pretty new. It happened when COVID hit. My son was born March 20th, 2020 in Brooklyn, so that was kind of a pretty wild time and everything. I think my last show was like on the 13th at New York Comedy Club in Manhattan, and I remember all the comedians in the green room kind of looking at each other like, I don't think we should be out here. Like it was pretty scary, and we were in a tight little shitty green room, like all breathing in each other's air. Like, let's get home. And sure enough, that was the last show. They shut down the next day, and yeah, so I kind of just got right into kid mode, and then my comedy partner, we do like sketch comedy. We're called Jay and Aton. He just had a kid recently as well. So over the last few years, I've definitely amassed some material, but we haven't been doing that many live shows. We recorded a live 1 hour special, released it March 13th, 2020, and then another album in 2022. So our next album is going to be all of this like parenthood, and he went through a lot. Like his wife and him had a really hard time getting pregnant. They luckily had one a few weeks ago, so there was a breath of fresh air where I can start like thinking about fatherhood.
That's great. Now it's funny, like where it wasn't
Yeah,
at
like
the
hey, I
time,
got my best friend
basically.
back, and we can bitch about fatherhood together now. Because before I could like, I was trying to like, he's like, "How you doing, man?" I'm like, the kids had me up all fucking night," and he's just like trying so hard to be a father, and I'm just bitching about it because, as you guys know, it's incredibly hard. So he'll find that out.
The grass is always greener. One question I always wanted to ask when you have comedians or radio personalities and they reference their wife or something. How does that go? Do you have to have like a sit down? Do you have to like sign some? What's the conversation with your wife about what's okay to talk about and what's
I,
not?
Yeah, what's
yeah, it's
off
funny.
limits?
I
Yeah,
think I
where's the
she's
line?
she's no, I haven't really sat down and had that. Like I do a couple bits about her, but it's all very like we have a bit about wedding planning. If anyone wants to check out our Spotify, it's Jay and Aton. It's EYTAN is his name, and we have all these jokes and audio sketches from our albums on Spotify. But there's one called Wedding Planning, where yeah, it's just talking about like how you have a girlfriend and you never really have to work with her on anything. She just does her job, you do yours, you go out for dinners and everything's just lovely. And then all of a sudden you're like wedding planning and she just like very type A, just spreadsheets everywhere. And I'm like a, ADHD comedian. So yeah, there's all these jokes about like, like decorations. It's just like, honey, you saw the Wu-Tang posters in my room when we met. Like I don't know what kind, should I invite Old Dirty Bastard? Like, should I bring the poster with me? But that was innocent enough. Like I've never really like I think if I wanted to get, you know, in really deep into our relationship or now stuff about the kids and that there might be those kind of conversations because I don't want her to get blindsided or something by that
Yeah,
piss her
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Jay, you spoke a little bit about it, but how did going through the whole sheltering in place during COVID reshape a lot of the work that you were doing?
It was incredibly hard at first, but then I started like I wouldn't have these like full-time writing jobs. I don't think without it. I think I kind of had to pivot and I started realizing that when I had kids, I didn't really want to be the guy that was out every night grinding, doing live shows because when you're kind of an unknown and you're not really a draw, we were headlining these clubs like pre-COVID. Aton and I were on the road for like a couple months straight in 2019. And then even after that, we would do these stints of like a week or two at a time. And if you luck out, like some headlining gigs pay like, hundreds of dollars. And we're two of us, we have to like split that too. So if you want to make that your day to day, like if that's your nut, then you're out all the time, like 3, 4, or
Yeah.
5 nights a week. And I was like, well, I have kids and I don't want to leave my wife, who has a great like 9 to 5, salary career job. And then she's got to like take care of 2 kids after that. It just doesn't seem fair. But so I'm happy that like I can start seeing with the 3-year-old how they start getting a bit more self-sufficient, that when, she's not hovering over like, oh, they're going to put their fingers in light sockets anymore, uh, then I would love to get back out there for little stints, like a week at a time or something, like 3, 4 nights where I can dip to like, Philly and Connecticut and Atlantic City and places that have these clubs that, or even up to Canada, like Toronto. But I loved, like, to answer your initial question, I really was looking for something that was like, what can my 9 to 5 in comedy be? And it's not like as gratifying, like as laughs in the moment, but I still get to be creative and write for like, 2 comedy websites, and I'm getting to be funny. And then I meet with him. We have like Zoom meetings once or twice a week where we get to discuss our live comedy, so that when we do get back out there, we have like new material. And so I feel fulfilled creatively, but I do get the itch every once in a while to like get back out there and, get in front of a crowd. Yeah, that'll be a thing soon.
You're getting the
Yeah.
the instant
Yeah.
response
Yeah,
of
the rush.
the joke.
Yeah. How do you separate, when you have a specific writing job, how do you separate that type of work from preparing material for, one of your live stand-up shows?
That's such a great question. Like, I've been thinking about that a lot, because I think to try to make a living at something like this, you kind of have to be a utility knife and compartmentalize. When you're a kid or anyone starting out in this, I think the old way was like, you just grind your shit for a while, then all of a sudden you get good, and then someone gives you millions of dollars to be in a TV show or a movie. It's like anything else, where it's not just like, here's millions of dollars, it happens a dollar at a time. So I started realizing that, like, yes, I have my own voice and my solo stuff that I do personally, and then my stuff with my partner. I mean, like, your question is really compartmentalizing, like, okay, the Hard Times has their own voice. And as an employee or a contributor in this moment, I am solely focusing on that like headline.
Do you dedicate specific blocks of time to work on each? For example, you have some deliverables this week, let me try to carve out some time on these specific days to focus on some of those projects that I would like to push
Exactly. Yeah,
forward.
that's exactly the like, it's almost the, ice cream after my broccoli kind of way of thinking, where I have these deadlines. So I go hard like Monday to like Wednesday or even Thursday. Then hopefully I've bought enough time on Thursday and Friday to get to my own things that I love. Yeah, that's been kind of the struggle with kids. Like, if we're on the dad podcast here, when they're sick, they're in daycare and they just bring home every damn illness and sickness ever, and you're like, oh, they're both home on Monday, so I'm gonna get maybe half an hour or one done when I really wanted to get 3 done. So I'm just gonna, and then you just put off, my own stuff, but the ideas are there, and I know I'll get to them at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people underestimate, even if your personality is funny and comedy generally comes easy to you, it's still a job, and you get writer's block and you get stuck, and you've got to work through stuff, and like you said, find a style, find a voice to make it marketable, and yeah, that's the real deal.
Yeah, it's up to my anxiety quite a lot, like with a deadline, and then all of a sudden, like the capacity, I guess, where this has been my sole thing. It's been this very selfish path forever, like for almost 20 years. And then all of a sudden, kids are in the mix, and you start realizing just how different your day-to-day life is, like their schedule and their like just what it takes to take care of them, keep them alive. So after they go to bed, I try, like tonight, I'll be rehearsing my lines because it's due tomorrow at like 1. So I have to rehearse a lot tonight. It's like 2 pages and try to get it right. And then in the morning, the second they're at daycare, I just like start filming. And that dance of like, oh, this thing is due, but what if they're both wake up with a fever tomorrow? I don't know. And so those things have always like, and my wife and I are really good at like tag teaming. We both like our careers and like our family as well. So I mean, this is the balance we wanted, I guess, and I can bitch about it all I want, but I think I just didn't know how different it would all be. I think I was cocky, like, most people that have no idea what it's like to have kids. Just like, I could do it.
I do want to ask you about metal Zumba, but before we get to that, I gotta say, just moments ago I watched this bit where you did a little sketch where you're talking to Rick Springfield and he's describing this song he's writing, Jesse's Girl, and you're Jesse, and you slowly start to figure out the song is about you and and what you're going through as he's explaining. Talk about developing that sketch.
That's with my friend Bryn Potty, another partner of mine. We were in a big group together called The Boom in Toronto. There was like 10 of us comedians, and we put on a monthly sketch show. And within that, I worked the best with like Bryn, this guy you're talking about, and Eitan, my current comedy partner. Yeah, that one was just like the listening party for Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl. And I forget we were just joking. I think we heard that song and we're like, the Jesse is a friend, and it's perfect. Like the setup and punch of that, like of the intro of that song, like he's a friend. He's been a good friend of mine. So I'm Jesse, and I'm just like, oh, thanks, man. Oh my God, you wrote a song about me? This is amazing. But lately something's changed. It ain't hard to define. Jesse's got himself a girl, and I want to make her mine. And I'm like, what the fuck? Cheryl? You talking about Cheryl? Yeah, man. Yeah, Cheryl. You, what? Oh man, she's crazy hot. I just like, ever since I saw her, I just like, I just want her. I'm like, well, it's my girlfriend, dude. Like, it's like, yeah. But like, this song just went #1. So, and then Cheryl comes in. It's like, Rick, is Jesse, am I Jesse? Yeah. Like, oh my God. And she just like fawns over him and like basically steals my girlfriend. But it's almost those like, what if dumb, hysterical. Like every comedian, like, what if this happened? Imagine. And then you like, do it and try to like sell it. Yeah.
I love how it played out. And that song is, people still want to hear that. What are we, like 35, 40 years ago? That's crazy. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So describe a little bit, what is Metal Zumba?
Yeah, that's a sketch we did, almost 2014, we filmed a series called Muck. That was all these short, punchy, little dirty sketches. A lot of times when I did it live, I would just have a cute little pink tank top and these little orange short shorts, like, a Zumba instructor. And I'm like, I come home and my partner, Eitan, is my roommate, and I'm just like, he looks at what I'm wearing. He's like, what the hell are you wearing? I'm like, bro, Zumba kicked my ass today. And he's like, Zumba? Isn't that for like, middle-aged women? And I'm just like, oh yeah, but this shit, metal Zumba. You ready for this journey? And I put on this band, Martyr AD, incredibly deathcore band, I guess you could call them. And it just fucking kicks off. And I just do the silliest, cutest dance ever to, this death metal song. And it always got a ridiculous reaction live. Like the music of it all, when we can crank some tunes and make it funny. Because I think I always have that band kind of mentality, try to make things musical and funny and big. So that's where Metal Zumba came from, and you got to see it live.
It's quite the visual, huh? Yeah. You also referenced Toronto a few times, so we have to ask, what's your favorite Rush album?
Oh, man.
How do you pick, really, right?
I honestly don't know any Rush albums. I'm just being straight up honest.
You're more of a Marillion fan?
No, I
don't
know who that is either. I'm sorry.
You need to ask your father-in-law.
Solid. Tragically Hip would be my man.
Tragically Hip.
All right.
That's like
I will embrace that.
That my dad and I could bond over. Like when I was a teenager, I was in this very like, my dad likes old people music, and I just like hated it just because he liked it, even though looking back it was like Neil Young and like really good music that I now like really appreciate. But at the time I was maybe 14 or 15 and like just couldn't help but love full hip albums, and so did my dad. So that was like, I don't know, they have a special place in my heart for sure.
Nice. Hey, Rich, can you schedule Jay's dad for next Wednesday, please?
Yeah.
I've played guitar with your father-in-law, actually.
Another guitar player.
Right. So you moved back to the neighborhood to live close to your wife's parents, and I've known them for a while. Super cool crew up there.
Damn it! This is some neighborhood. I'm
jealous.
Yeah,
you should get Jay Pinkney on that.
Son of a...
My wife's dad. I met her in 2015, and I think 3 months later I was up here meeting the parents, and he just blew me away. He's like played in like metal bands, like a Van Halen type guitarist. He's like so talented on guitar, and made a living as a live, guitar player when the girls were really little, and would just put on these shows, and he showed me some classic videos and told me some insane stories. So we bonded pretty much right away. And my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, is about to get married this month, and he is a really great guitar player, singer. He's in a band, Northern Faces, they're called. He's not a dad yet, but very soon he'll be a dad. So I'll hook you guys up with him because he's got some stories for sure.
I've actually photographed him at the Troy River music thing
Nice,
a few
yeah.
years back. They were very good. Yes, Northern Faces.
Yeah,
was
they've done
good. Yep.
some. They've toured this great nation quite a bit. They're great.
I got one more question for you. We've developed a fond appreciation of musical gear, and we like to take good care of it. Have you ever done a mic drop?
Only once at my own wedding, for some reason, and I
That's fair.
did
That's
feel
fair.
bad
That's fair.
immediately because I also
Yes.
I started in bands before comedy. Like my teens were all I was a screamer in like a metal band, and I heard that from, and all the sound checks that we do a lot of musical stuff and a lot of microphone stuff. So I've
Yeah.
dealt with possibly almost 1,000 sound guys. So I learned pretty
Oh,
quick
yeah.
that that's a no-no. But at my wedding, we announced that my wife was pregnant with my son, and the place just lost their minds. And I don't know, I just felt it. It was like a March 2020 dropping. Well, I just like had just enough beers in me to and it was a wireless
drop.
mic that I just like boom, and I heard it, and then I was just like, I saw the sound guy in the back just like ugh. So I gave him a massive apology, and the mic was okay, but I'm really sorry, gents. I wanted to say no, as the people
No,
pleaser
it's all right.
in me was just going to be like, oh my
It's all
God,
right.
never.
Well, we certainly appreciate that you're sympathetic to it.
As the owners of many microphones, yes.
One time my dad gave me a mic. That was a nice Christmas. He really hated the music I played because we jammed in our garage, and I was the very like just hard. And for that Christmas, he got me this like nice new mic because he's a great musician. He's a really talented guitar player. But yeah, I forget what kind of mic it was, like Shure or something it was. So I would bring that to shows with me because mics at a lot of those like Legion halls were just fucking disgusting.
Probably a nice SM58 that hasn't been spit.
Yeah,
all
and
over.
they're
It's
like,
nice to bring
especially
your
with
own,
metal,
right?
like they crush the mic basically.
Yeah.
All the
yeah.
dents
Yeah.
in the mics. So he was like, "You probably need your own,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "Thanks, Dad. That was nice."
Well, that's a solid cool dad move for somebody who
is.
was not a huge fan of screamo rock, and he delivered
Exactly.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
Did you join and start a hardcore metal band just so your parents would be relieved that you decided to become a comedian?
That's hilarious. No, if anything, the comedian was like a deeper, like, I was still in high school at the time, so it was all fun and games.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
the boy's in a band. Okay, cool. He's not peddling fucking weed on the streets.
Oh, thank God he became
Yeah,
a comedian.
No, if anything, it was like, yeah.
We're so relieved.
If anything, it was this like, oh, for real? Like you're graduated high school, you're going off to college, and what you've decided to study in your post-secondary education is a 2-year comedy diploma, a comedy course.
That's funny. Was the diploma like from? It was like an
Yeah.
Acme thing, like the old Looney Tunes.
A cliff. I flash it to show that it was funny.
You got the diploma and a slide whistle.
Has that ever like
Congratulations.
helped in any like on a resume of sorts? Like what to get a show somewhere? When would you ever flash a comedy diploma? I studied this.
But that makes it funny. It's a
Yeah.
bit.
That now everyone that has graduated, because that was like 04 and that program is still going strong. It's probably like 60 to 80 kids a year every year.
Jay, don't be so hard on yourself. I id an MBA and it hasn't done shit for me. So
I didn't mean to laugh
That's
at
good
you
stuff.
there. That was a laugh. I was laughing with you.
my
His
masters
MBA.
my masters did not pay off either, so you're in good company. It's
It happens.
all good stuff though.
nice. Man, this has been great, Jay.
Thanks.
This really
Thanks for having
has.
So Jay Wells Lequier, where can people find you? So you're writing for Cracked in the Hard Times, one of my favorites. And if they want to like find some stuff of yours, where can they find it?
Instagram at jwellslec, Lec. I post all my stuff there, my articles and my silly videos, like my solo stuff and the stuff I do with my friend Aton. We have an Instagram page at JNAton that we post a ton of really funny sketches. That's it. That's all.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, making the trip down. This was a lot of fun, and I'm going to see you around
Can't
the
wait.
neighborhood.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. We validate parking, so please see the receptionist on the way out.
My shoes at the door, basically. Is that the... Oh, I got my shoes on. I
Yeah.
got them on.
This has been great. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
This was a ton of fun. And it's great being called a cool dad because it's new. Fatherhood is new to me. It was,
You're off to a good start, man, and we're happy
I
you're
blushed
here.
a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, when the word cool dad was thrown around.
It's exclusive, my friend. This is not.
Yeah.
That's right.
This does not
Just
let
any
anybody
old,
in.
not
That
just
is
any
for
old
sure.
schlub.
I don't just grab anybody walking
You
past
there.
my house.
Dude, I hope you got a lot more neighbors down the block. I might buy some real estate there myself.
Over. We jam every night. No, I'm joking.
Jeez.
It's a great place to live here in upstate New York. All right, well, Jay, thanks again. We'll
Thanks,
talk
man.
to you
Thank you.
soon, and
Yeah, great
We'll
chatting
see
with
you
you
around.
guys. Thank you.
Hit that, smash that like button.